Mad Max Fury Road is a 2015 action film, and unless you've been living under a rock or have shitty friends, you've probably heard that this movie's amazing. And it is. It is my favorite film of 2015, and it'll probably be one of my favorite films of the decade. And whenever I hear criticism of the film, it's always the same thing. Either A, people who want Mel Gibson back for some reason, B, people who think it's feminist propaganda for some reason, C, people who say that it's a weak story and that it's just one long chase scene, or D, the Amish. And that's the group that I want to talk about today, because honestly, I don't think those people understand a single thing about film. And just to clarify, I am talking about C, but granted, the Amish probably don't know a lot about film either, so... You see, the first thing that you have to understand is that film is a visual medium, and it's also a medium in its infancy, the first feature film premiering in 1906, a measly 110 years ago from today. The medium's youthfulness leads to a sort of a film illiteracy, which is the lack of being able to recognize proper film and filmmaking. For the most part, you could film people just sitting and talking with a flat shot reverse shot to cover it all, and a lot of people wouldn't see the problem with this. But despite some people being oblivious, film remains very much a visual medium. For example, take the movie Seven, more specifically, the infamous box scene, where Detective Mills and Somerset drive out to the boonies looking to find John Doe's last victim. But John Doe is actually trying to get Mills to kill him, as it would be the perfect conclusion to his cruel and twisted game. John Doe has a box delivered to the field, and upon opening it, Somerset realizes it contains Mills' wife's head. Obviously, this puts the detectives on edge, and you'll notice that all of their shots are now handheld, particularly Mills, whose shots are especially shaky. However, John Doe's shots remain dead still. And now this represents the current mental state of the characters that the film portrays. Now, I'm not saying that Mad Max is as deep as this, or even uses the same aspects of filmmaking, but I wanted to point out to even the most uninitiated that there are aspects of filmmaking that exist beyond story and what can be done in a literary format. Because films aren't people acting out novels with a camera simply placed in front of them. They're films, and a medium of their own. Anyone who knows anything about Fury Road's pre-production knows that it was crafted as storyboards with a script eventually written around it.
It was 3,500 panels around a room, and I would say a good 80% of those panels are reflected in the images you see on the screen today.
And it shows. The film makes good use of a technique called eye trace, which is the act of using framing to direct the eye to what it needs to see. For example, ending the last shot where the next shot is about to begin. Action ends frame left, action begins frame left. Action ends frame right, action begins frame right. This puts the viewer in a somewhat pseudo-trance, and you're able to place the eye in the area that it needs to be before the cut, which dissolves the barrier between the audience and the film. This leads to a much smoother viewing experience than one where the action jumps all over the place. It shows that everything in the movie was well thought out and wasn't done carelessly or made up on the spot.
What I tried to do is prep as little specifics as possible in terms of shots. So I wanted to be able to go to the set and make things up as I went along and sort of, wing it. I tried to storyboard nothing so that the thing would have energy and it would feel...
Okay, so that's why I think it's good, but I still have to counter the criticisms of the story. And you know what? You're right. It is a simple story, and it is just one long chase scene. But I'd also like to counter with, that's the point. People think that in order for a story to be good, you have to have like a unique idea or a mind-blowing twist, but they're wrong. A good story can be a simple story, but one that's just told well. Raiders and The Terminator are two of the best films of the 20th century, and neither of them were praised for their revolutionary screenplays. They were praised for being well-made films. And it's ignorant and just downright idiotic to believe that the most crucial aspect of filmmaking is something that is done before the film is even made, because oddly enough, filmmaking has a lot to do with making a film. As long as your script isn't broken, it doesn't matter. Great films can come from the simplest of scripts. If you don't believe me, just read Drive. Now, obviously, story isn't meaningless. After all, that's what films are. Stories. However, I do believe that the complexity of the stories can vary depending on what the film is trying to accomplish. There are multiple films that I enjoy for their intelligent stories, films that make you think. But Mad Max isn't that type of film. It's an action movie, and the criticisms at this point mutate into judging a musician on whether or not you like the genre rather than how well they actually played their instrument. Mad Max Fury Road knows what type of film it is and commits itself to mastering that genre 100%. So why is it that people criticize Fury Road for an aspect that they praised in a horrible film like Boyhood, where nothing happens?
Actually, something does happen because the boy grows up.
Oh, fucking wow, does he eat a pretzel too?